Now we go from the sun to the opposite of the sun where we have the earth. And here it is actually our greatest challenge because it's easy to be in the sun. And if we look at earth sign astrology, which is not very popular, but it's used, we can see that is part of what we sometimes call the inner child, that thing that is not out there in the world. It's the opposite to that. And at the same time, from a human design perspective and a Jinki perspective, that is what we came here to earth to ground. So it's going to bring up a challenge, an edge for us that we are here to take on. And we are here to mature through taking it on. So if you are trying to run away from this activation, from this archetype, from this line, you are going to go in circles and you're not necessarily going to mature. You're not going to break through to come in truly to your core stability on the design side of the sun and the earth. So it's important to take this on. I like to speak about especially the line because the line can have us be distracted from even tapping into the archetype. So if you have a fourth line like I have, it's the constriction of the breath, it's anxiety. If you have a first line, it's a kind of insecurity that doesn't allow you to step into that. If you have a second line, it's an unawareness of yourself and saying, I'm disappointed with the world, I'm disappointed with you, it's not my fault. If you have a third line, it can be this seeking approval because you are a weird animal. You're a weirdo, and that is really cool. You're a dynamo. You are somebody that's here to be very unique in that desire of the solar plexus and all the interactions that you have. But people sometimes shame you, so you're seeking approval. And then that could distract you. Or you're like breaking bonds because you can't stand people's judgment. And then the fourth line I already spoke about. And the fifth line would be a lot of misunderstandings and conflict because there's projection field. So then that would make you not work through it and cut off instead of mature through it. And the sixth line would compromise because it feels like it can never happen anyway. We're not evolving. I just have to compromise because there are no people that see my worldview. And it could also disconnect. So with the evolution sphere, when we look at the line, how would you live out the line in a low frequency that then would distract you from your life purpose, would distract you to mature and really come into the wholeness of who you are and break through. So you're going to have insecurity if you're a first line, you're going to have some unawareness. If you're a second line, disappointment. If you're a third line, you're going to have some failure and shaming yourself or some feeling of failure. A fourth line, you're going to have anxiety, you might feel numbness. A fifth line, you're going to have projection and you're going to have some of the misunderstandings and conflict. And the sixth line is going to either get stuck on seeking resolution or just compromise because it's not worth it. Important with the evolution, that is a place where we'll always come back to. When you think maybe you work through it and then it comes back. Similar with the archetype, when you look at the reactive and the repressive shadow, you're going to see that you tend to come back to one. And maybe both. I was speaking about that today because we're going into Jinki 1, which is my evolution, and that is frenetic or depressive. And the dilemma in the victim state is numbness. And I can see when I go into depression or being frenetic or when I numb, there's no way that I'm going to break through and ground into my core stability, my radiance. There's no way that I'm going to live out my mission completely if I get stuck. If there's one sphere that you want to have some checking yourself when it comes to the shadow, it is this one. This is your evolutionary edge. So when you can take on that, when the anxiety comes, if I instead of being numb or running away or going into depression, I can be like, okay, breathe. It's here again. I understand that there's something with the creativity, with the life force, where right now I'm a little bit out of balance, but this is part of my evolutionary potential. Let me just feel the life force. Let me just be with that pulse. And if it's individual circuitry, like in my case, there's melancholy, right? If there is tribal circuitry, there can be some of these tensions with the family members, the tribe. If it's collective, there can be some kind of frustration and confusion about what has been or where we're going. So you can also go further out into circuitry and using the human design in that sense. And like I said, if you have this in an open center, it's a little bit more challenging than if you have it in a defined center. If you have it in a channel, there might be some fixedness here. So you want to see that if you have your evolution sphere there, that you're not just banging on in the same way because you know that's the way. You want to have a little bit more openness because evolution happens when we don't repeat the same thing over and over again. So let's just write what is your archetype, what is your sign. So you're going to have the opposite sign in astrology. You're going to have the programming partner. So this is the mirror opposite on the wheel. Those two, it's true, they are very different. I have the feminine and the masculine, the one and the two, prime yin, prime yang. So they are in tension with each other. And that's what we are saying in earth sign astrology. It's very far away from your sun, it's on the other side. So why would we go into this when it's so much easier to shine than to go into this place and have to anchor this and work through this? And if you have it in a undefined center, then there's even a little bit more of distraction that could make you have a tougher time to ground it. But just knowing this is your evolution potential. So if I think about Jinki 1, this is Kundalini, this is codon ring of fire, this is Eros. My evolution potential is to embody Eros, to ground Eros into my life instead of being frenetic and running around or kind of laying into entropy and wanting to die. This one is a powerful one for all of us. It can be some worst case scenarios. And also knowing often where you can feel out of balance has to do with that chakra, that element. So if you have a first line, it's that root chakra, that survival feeling. And for me, it's the fourth chakra and anxiety.